a whole crowd of Democrats boo the notion of abolishing the IRS? I hear abolish the IRS and I say that sounds fantastic, because it really should just be, it should be very straightforward, whatever the tax burden is going to be. The reason the tax code is tens of thousands of pages is corruption, graft, special favors, side deals, and social engineering. That's it. The Biden State of the Union address, I think, which will be tomorrow, is going to handle a whole range of things. And look, I'm going to watch it. Clay's going to watch it. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun watching. But we're going to do it because we're going to see the way they try to spin all this stuff. Here's Senator Tim Scott, for example, when he was talking about Biden's State of the Union. He says that Biden should apologize for a whole range of things. Play 10.
I think you'll hear a lot of glossing over of the real issues that the American people are suffering through. If we were going to hear something authentic from President Biden, it would be, American people, I'm sorry. I apologize for record-breaking crime, record-breaking inflation, and record-breaking border crossings. What I anticipate, however, is he will talk about nothing for as long as humanly possible and stop talking.
So, Clay, I agree with what Senator Scott is saying. Of course, Biden's going to do none of that. But the one place where I think it really is, he went below my very low expectations, is with the promise to unify the country and to be a return to normalcy and all that. I didn't think he was going to do it, but he's really gone with the winter of death about the vaccines and the ultra MAGA Republicans. He just gave a speech to Democrats in Philadelphia, and this is how he talks about extreme MAGA Republicans. Play 12.
They introduced a bill. Mr. Gunnis, you think I'm crazy? When I said this stuff in the off here, people looked at me like I was nuts. They're nuts. I'm not the one. They introduced a bill that will eliminate the IRS and replace it with a 30% national sales tax. Oh, no. You heard me. 30% national sales tax. Think about that. Means 30% on groceries, gasoline, clothing, school supplies, medicine, big ticket items like rent and cars. Shifting the entire burden to the working class and middle class in America. It's not going to happen. I'm going to veto the sucker if it ever got to me. I know the Republicans ran an inflation last election. I didn't know they were trying to make it worse.
The idea that our tax code is so fundamentally broken that anytime someone offers an alternative, it is immediately shouted down. I mean, you heard the booing. Like, who likes taxes? I mean, in all honesty. And so it's not going to pass. Everybody knows it's not going to pass. But the idea that we can't have a conversation about how broken our tax policy is, Buck, you've told the story for a while. Was it who was the former Secretary of Defense that would say, I have no idea if this is accurate? Like
Donald Rumsfeld. He would send a letter into the IRS saying, look, I got great accountants, and I'm being honest with you. But you're asking me to sign something saying it's all true, and nobody knows if this is all accurate.
And what I have come to find out as I have had my own business and everything else, if you gave your taxes to 10 different accountants, 10 different accountants would tell you that you owed a different amount. That seems to me to be a flaw of the overall system. And the fact that you and me and many of the people out there listening to us are reasonably intelligent adults, and we wouldn't even dream of attempting, many of us, to file our own tax returns, is pretty good evidence that the system is broken. Not to mention, we just hired 87,000 new IRS agents, which in my opinion is not going to make anything better at all.
Well, you asked, though, why would a whole crowd of Democrats boo the notion of abolishing the IRS? I hear abolish the IRS, and I say that sounds fantastic, because it really should just be, it should be very straightforward, whatever the tax burden is going to be. The reason the tax code is tens of thousands of pages is corruption, graft, special favors, side deals, and social engineering. That's it. There's no reasonable explanation for why. I mean, depending on if you add the addendums and all this stuff, I think they estimate it's like 70,000 pages. I mean, the tax code is absolutely outrageous if you were to print it all out and put it together. But I'm reminded of Frederick Bastiat, the Frenchman from mid-19th century the quote, government is a great fiction through which everybody endeavors to live at the expense of everybody else. That's what Democrats do. By the way, the law is brilliant. It's short. It's easy to read. It's really fantastic. A lot of more libertarian conservatives are big fans of Bastille, the law. But it is true that Democrats promise that everybody, whether it's on health care or taxes, it's always somebody else that will pay. And that is the great fiction that they use to get so much bad policy done.
Like 1992-ish, when Steve Forbes ran, and almost Steve Forbes' entire message, and obviously he was not the best advocate for this because he kind of looks like a zany tax professor at a elite institution. But I think if I remember correctly, the Steve Forbes plan was basically a 12% flat tax. Every single person would pay 12%. You could file your tax return, if I remember from his perspective, basically on a small note card, right, that you would be able to, the postcard that you'd be able to mail in. I don't understand how we can't fix our broken tax system and why that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Now, I don't know about the idea of a consumption tax, and all the different ways to do it can be confusing because they require change, and change is often fought just because people are creatures of habit. But our tax code is broken. And if every single one of you out there almost could not file your own tax return and be confident that you can do it well. And I don't mean if you're an employee and your employer it's not that complicated. As soon as you start to have very many different moving parts, and God forbid if you're actually own a small business to figure all this out, or you're an independent contractor, I mean, it's a total and complete mess. It really is. And so of all the areas you could attack Republicans on, they're trying to figure out how to make our tax code work better for more people. Seems like a really bad attempt to attack. I am looking forward, however, tomorrow at State of the Union, Buck. How much better is it going to be to see Kevin McCarthy sitting behind Joe Biden instead of Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, he's not going to tear up any speeches, I can assure you of that. So classy, Democrats. So classy.
Remember the last time the State of the Union, Biden just randomly said, go get him at the end? I'm curious if he'll have another crazy mishap like that one.